This is a KMVT sports presentation.
Mountain View tries to avenge an earlier loss this week to Redwood City. DiMaggio baseball action here on KMVT. George Devine, glad to have you with us from McKelvey Park. The Renegades of Redwood City coming in with a 26-16 record. They defeated Mountain View 8-3 earlier this week on KMVT. The Black Sox of Mountain View, a very disappointing 7-16 season as they play their 24th game tonight. Reggie Cabell goes on the mound, a right-hander for Redwood City. He'll oppose Rob Parfett, a right-hander for Mountain View. We see Rob right there. Mountain View, because of the very hot weather tonight, sporting their road uniforms. Head coach Paul Cunningham feels that the red mesh uniforms are a little warmer, let's say a little cooler than the usual white pinstripes they wear at home. So a little different look for the Mountain View DiMaggio squad tonight. Dustin DeLucchi, the center fielder for Redwood City, will lead off. Bill Duplessis, the DH, will follow. Then Ed Montague Jr., the second baseman, bats third. Tony Gomez, the shortstop, hits cleanup. Chris Scroggins, the right fielder, bats fifth. Tony Agresti, the catcher, bats sixth. Tony Papadakis bats seventh. He plays first base. Scott Morton, the left fielder, bats ninth. And then Steve Correa, the first baseman, rounds things out in the ninth spot. So the first pitch to DeLucchi, high and away for ball one. Parfett throwing the ball tonight to Ryan McCracken. You see McCracken right there on the right-hand corner of your screen. This is belted towards second. Melanudo is up with it, over to first, and Feichmeyer one away. So quickly we'll set the infield. Chris Honda is at third, Matt McGuire at second, Mike Melanudo at second, Grant Feichmeyer at first. Elliot Reeves is in left, Victor Ambruzzo in center, and Dan Vardy rounds out the outfield and right. Bill Duplessis stands in, and he takes the first pitch high in the strike zone for a called strike one. Here's the 0-1. Breaking ball up high, and the count evens at 1-1. Ed Montague to follow. These two ball clubs met on Tuesday night here on KMVT. A lot of folks will remember that was an 8-3 win for Redwood City over Mountain View. Mountain View got a 1-0 lead in the first, held on to it through 3 innings, and the ball game was tied. McGuire at short is up with this one, and there are 2 gone. So 2 away very quickly here in the top of the first inning. Parfett working quickly.
Now batting second baseman, number 11, Ed Montague.
Ed Montague steps up to the plate, playing second base tonight. Played in left field the other night when we first saw him. And we'll have a special treat later on tonight. Ed Jr.'s father, Ed Sr., National League umpire and crew chief who worked third base at Candlestick Park today, will be joining us in the third inning here in the KMVT broadcast booth. First pitch to Montague the younger is low for ball one. And in that ball game, it was tied up in the fourth. A single run being pushed across by Redwood City, and that big 7-run 6th inning did the number on Mountain View as Redwood City went on to the 8-3 win. 2-0 here to Ed Montague Jr. And Parfett deals, and he misses low and falls behind 3-0. Tony Gomez, the shortstop, is on deck. 305 down the left field line, 350 straightaway center. Montague fishes for one, taps it up the middle. McGuire with a long run loses it, and Montague legs out a single. A real tough play right there for Matt McGuire. Had to come across in front of the bag at second, in onto the lawn behind the mound. Montague with good speed would have beaten out a throw if McGuire had offered one. Tony Gomez stands in. 2 away on a runner off first. Montague with a lead, runner goes, pitches low for a ball, throw to the right-hand side of second base, rolls through to center field. Montague's off on his way to third. He'll go there unchallenged. So Ryan McCracken will be charged with an error. Ed Montague gets a stolen base. He goes to third on that error for those of you who are keeping score at home. And Gomez stands ahead in the count 1-0. So the potential first run of the game standing at third base. Montague a couple steps off the bag. Honda over at third even with the bag, about 5 steps off of the line. And Gomez awaiting the 1-0. It's a fastball inside and it just misses. Parfait put a little too much on it. Trying to work the corner. And that catches the outside corner and the count 2-1. Chris Scroggins stands in the on-deck circle. And a called strike 2 on the outside, and that evens the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2 outs and a runner off third here. We're just underway. Top of the first inning at McKelvey Park. Parfait working to the cleanup batter. Misses outside, and the count goes full. DeLucchi led off the ball game with a grounder to second. Duplessis followed with a grounder to short. Montague hit one up the middle that McGuire was late getting to. That was a base hit. He's now at third after a stolen base. This is well hit towards center. Long run for Ambruzzo. He's towards the fence, makes the catch, and hauls it in for the final out here in the first. No runs, a hit, a runner left for Redwood City in the top of the first. Through a half inning, Redwood City nothing, and Mountain View coming to bat.
At the end of a half an inning, Redwood City nothing.
Reggie Cabell, the right-hander for Redwood City, completes his warm-up tosses as he gets ready to face Mountain View in the bottom half of the first inning. The Montague hit, the only action so far on our KMVT scoreboard. He was stranded on third as Redwood City couldn't bring him across in the top half of the first. The defense behind Cabell looks like this. On the infield, Tony Papadakis at third, Tony Gomez at short, Ed Montague at second, Steve Correa at first. On the outfield, Scott Morton in left, Dustin DeLucchi in center, Chris Scroggins in right. Tony Agresti, the other half of the battery with Cabell. Elliott Reeves, Matt McGuire, and Ryan McCracken due here in the first inning. The left fielder, shortstop, and catcher respectively. And the first pitch to Reeves, taken over at the belt for a called strike. Then Mark O'Hara, the DH, bats in the cleanup spot. Mike Milanudo, the second baseman, bats fifth. Grant Feichmeyer, the first baseman, bats sixth. A strike on the outside, and Reeves is down in the count 0-2. Then to the seventh spot, third baseman Chris Honda. The eighth spot, right fielder Dan Vardy, and then Victor Ambruzzo in center field takes up the rear in the 9 spot. Reeves stays alive, fouling off the breaking pitch, and the count stays 0-2. So I'll be very lucky later in this ball game, as I mentioned, to be joined by Ed Montague, National League umpire in his 18th year on the senior circuit, crew chief, working the Giants-Dodgers series this weekend at Candlestick Park. A lot of fun working a Giants-Dodgers series. 50,000 in attendance at the Stick today. Fouled off of the plate, and once again it stays 0-2. So I'm sure Ed will bring a lot of great stuff to the booth. We look forward to having him. 0-2 right here to Elliott Reeves. And he chops this one in between short and third for a base hit.
Now batting shortstop.
Papadakis and Gomez.
McGuire.
But all they could do right there was watch it go through the hole. And Reeves stands on first with a base hit. So the leadoff man does his job, and now it's up to Matt McGuire to see if he can move him over. McGuire, about to enter his junior year at St. Francis High School, takes high ball 1. Papadakis at third, playing about a step behind the bag and about 5 off the line. Each club with a hit so far. And that's up high, and it's 2-0 to McGuire. The game's only error, the throwing error, committed by McCracken. Swung on, inside fastballs fouled off, and the count 2-1.
Please return alpha.
McGuire the other night against Redwood City, 1 for 2, an RBI on a grounder to second base. That gave Mountain View that 1-0 lead I mentioned. Lead by Reeves off of first. A generous one. He's back in plenty of time. You see that semicircle right there at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. When the runner comes out to the end of the semicircle towards second, as the runner now goes, hit along the right side for a base hit into right field. McGuire will go to first. Reeves on his way to third. The hit and run working beautifully for Paul Cunningham's troops. And McGuire back in ahead of the throw over at first. So back-to-back singles and aggressive base running paying off for Mountain View. I said he had his lead foot out at the front of the semicircle. Well, he took off from there. McGuire paints one past Correa at first. And runners at the corners, nobody out. And Ryan McCracken standing in. First pitch to McCracken, a fastball taken over the outside, and it's 0-1. McCracken next Friday night will be playing in the North-South Charlie Wiedemeyer All-Star game at San Jose City College. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And a ball taken low, and the count 1-1. He'll be joined by a lot of other Mountain View and St. Francis players, including Dion Moulin, David Watts, Darren Svedman, Chris Spraker. And the Ephus pitch up high, and the count to 2-1 on McCracken. Great cause supporting Charlie Wiedemeyer, the former Los Gatos football coach stricken with Lou Gehrig's disease. Swing and a miss, and the count on McCracken even at 2-2. That game will be 8 o'clock this Friday night at San Jose City College. KMVT will bring it to you. But it'd be great to see a lot of you out there. We look forward to that. Chance to see many of the young men in their final high school football game. It's an all-star classic for seniors finishing up their careers. Some of them will be going on to play college football. Others, it's a last dance. Swung on towards short. Gomez to second, and Montague for one. On to first in Correa for the double play. Coming home to score Reeves. So 1/3 of the bullet dodged right there as a run comes home. 6-4-3 on the double play. McCracken picks up a run batted in. McGuire is extinguished at second.
Designated hitter number 35, Mark O'Hara.
And quickly 2 out. So Mark O'Hara, the DH, batting with the bases empty, a run in, and 2 outs. And the first pitch way outside for ball 1. The north team representing players north of Highway 880, the south team south of 880. This is chopped towards third. Tough play for Papadakis. It gets past him for Mountain View's third base hit of the inning. So Mountain View has kept the ball pretty much on the ground when they've made contact. But they've been able to come up with a run here and 3 hits so far in the bottom of the first. And left-handed batting Mike Milanudo stands in. Mike Machado of Saratoga High School coaching the North squad. Popped up off a third and foul on the count 0-1 to Milanudo. Eric Lucia of Silver Creek, the head coach for the South. 0-1 and 2 outs, runner off of first. Pitch is taken low for ball 1. So you'll see a kaleidoscope of different helmets Friday night in that ball game, the Wiedemeyer All-Star Classic. We'll have a lot of fun bringing it to you on KMVT. Swing and a miss on the fastball, and Milanudo down on the count 1-2. But the Mountain View area well represented for that ball game. Chopper towards short. Gomez comes in on the grass off the heel of his glove, and Milanudo is aboard on the error. Tough play for Gomez right there. Had to come in on it. Took his eyes off the ball for a second. Had it bounce off the heel of his glove. And the result is runners at first and second. O'Hara at second, Milanudo at first. Grant Feichmeyer with a chance to keep the inning alive. He promptly pops up the first pitch off of first. Correa is over in foul territory, makes the catch to retire the side. But Mountain View comes up with a run. On 3 hits, there was an error and 2 left. And through 1, Mountain View 1 and Redwood City nothing. Some folks enjoying the very warm evening out here at McKelvey Park, grabbing a cool drink. 1-0 here to Chris Honda. And he takes a strike on the outside, and that evens it at 1-1. If you're at home, I hope you're doing the same thing, pulling up a nice, comfortable chair, pouring yourself a nice, tall, cold drink, and enjoying this ball game. And Scroggins hits this one into right field for a base hit. He'll be followed by Tony Agresti, who's coming up, and then Tony Papadakis.
Now batting catcher number 8, Anthony Agresti.
So Mountain View coming up with the lone run in the bottom half of the first inning. 3 hits in that inning, with balls well placed on the infield. Chris Scroggins with a well-placed base hit right there, and Agresti following fouls this one off and falls behind 0-1. Kind of a funny story I'm going to tell you here in a moment. Last week, the minor league Boise Hawks, a California Angels affiliate, apologized for tearing up several hotel rooms during an all-night party in Spokane, Washington. Pitch out, and the count 1-1. The Hawks promised to cover damages estimated at more than $1,000. Well, this week, they got the copy of the bill, $157.43. So the Hawks aren't paying the bill for that one. Runner goes, swung on and missed. Throw down a second. No, not in time. The throw was there, but the tag wasn't. So 1-2 now to Agresti, and a runner into scoring position as Scroggins steals second. That throw had him beat. The tag was nowhere to be found, and Rich Moore hesitated on the call down there. And that misses high on the count, 2-2. As I mentioned, Rich Moore on the bases tonight. Ed Costa behind the plate. Rich working his 169th game as an umpire this evening. It's a lot of work. This is well hit into left field, but it's caught by Reeves. He throws to second, and they have the runner doubled off. So Scroggins is caught sleeping. And a promising second inning. Gets a wrinkle right there. This is well hit to left, but right at Danny Elliott Reeves.
Now batting
He
third
fires
baseman
over to
number 6,
second.
Tony Papadakis.
And Agresti and Scroggins are history, and Tony Papadakis will try to keep the inning going. 7-4 on the double play. Well hit into left. This will drop in for a base hit. And so Papadakis with the second hit of the inning and the third of the game for Redwood City. But you talk about base running errors.
Left fielder number 9,
The last thing you want to do is run into an out or be caught sleeping off of a base, especially with a runner in scoring position and a close one-run game. I know it's only the top of the second inning. This is well hit but foul down the line at third. And Scott Morton falls behind 0-1.
For a coupon redeemable at the snack bar. Thank you.
Last thing you want to do is run into an out. And right there, Scroggins fell asleep. Reeves with a simple throw to second. There are 2 outs. And it hurts even more if you're a Redwood City fan after the Papadakis single. Show of bunt, runner goes, throw to second, not in time. And so Papadakis has second stolen. Morton goes down on the count 0-2. But Redwood City, an aggressive club on the base paths. Remember, Montague stole second, went to third on the error in the first. Then Scroggins stole second, was caught sleeping here in the second. And now Papadakis with a stolen base. 0-2 to Morton, and he'll step out quickly and now back in. Remember, the late afternoon, early evening sun, a tough contender here. This is hit back through the box for a base hit. Stopping at third will be Papadakis. And so Redwood City keeps the inning alive. moves a runner over to third. They now have runners at the corners. And Rob Parfett lucky to be all right. That was hard hit. Now Big Steve Correa batting in an unfamiliar spot tonight in the number 9 position in the order. Correa, a guy you'd think would be a little higher up in the order. He batted 6th the other night. Usually bats in the 5 or 6 spot for St. Francis, and he looks at a pitch out and away. That's 1-0. But he's got good power. The other night an RBI and a couple of singles. Morton off first. He goes to second. Throw down there. Not in time. Through the legs of McGuire. And coming home to score on the overthrow is Papadakis to tie this game at 1 apiece. So second error charged to Ryan McCracken behind the plate. It's always a high stakes game when you try to get a runner out at second with a man off third. And Mountain View rolls the dice, and it doesn't come up 7s for them. 2-0 to Steve Correa with Morton off second. And he stares at a pitch beneath the knees, and he goes ahead 3-0. Top of the order, and Dustin DeLucchi in the on-deck circle. Of course, Correa familiar to a lot of the folks on KMVT, plays football and baseball for St. Francis. He's ahead of this pitch. He sends it into right field, and it gets past Dan Vardy. Here comes Morton to score. Redwood City takes the lead. Correa with a head of steam. He's chugging towards third. McGuire with the relay throw will hold on to it. And so Steve Correa will be credited a single. A 2-base error will be charged to Danny Vardy. So we'll take another look right here. This is hitting to right, well placed.
Now batting the leadoff batter, center fielder number 23.
Right past Vardy, and another run comes home. So 2 have come across here in the second inning, and DeLucchi hits this one a long way. It is off the glove of Ambruzzo. Correa steps on the plate to score. DeLucchi on his way to second will stand there with 2. So a 2-base hit for Dustin DeLucchi, another run batted in for Redwood City, and a 3-0 lead for the Renegades. Take another look right there. Hit to the deepest part of the ballpark. Ambruzzo, without a warning track or much room to work with, sees it go off of his glove. It's 350, you remember, to center field. And Bill Duplessis standing in with DeLucchi off second. And he takes a pitch low for ball 1. 335 down the line and right, 305 down the line and left, and again 350 straightaway center. But it's about 360 to that right center field corner. And a curve ball over for a called strike, and it's 1-1. Ed Montague standing on deck. So Rob Parfett, not pitching that badly, but Redwood City just hitting them where Parfett's defenders aren't. 1-1 pitch comes way inside. Duplessis jumps out of the way, and the count 2-1. So McCracken had a quick word with Parfett. Everybody back to their respective positions, including Ed Costa behind the plate. DeLucchi with good speed at second. He's on his way to Arizona State on a baseball scholarship to help the Sun Devils out in the 6-pack. And Duplessis goes ahead 3-1. Short lead for DeLucchi at second. And a called strike on the outside, and the count goes full on Duplessis. Here's the 3-2, and it's low for ball 4. So Duplessis draws the walk. First walk surrendered by Parfett this ball game. but he
Now
surrendered a
batting
grand
second
total of
baseman,
6
number
hits.
11, Ed Montague.
And so Ed Montague, singled with 2 outs in the first, stands in. Feichmeyer will not hold the runner on at first against the left-handed batting Montague. So they're guarding against something going down the line. Vardy playing a few steps in from his usual spot and right. And Montague takes a strike over at the belt. That's 0-1. It's the kind of pitch where if you can turn on it, the inside pitch, you can send it the opposite way. Chris Honda, with the sun in his eyes over at third, would have a tough time with that. Here's the 0-1 to Montague. He goes with it, chops it, past Melanudo at second. DeLucchi will come home. He comes to the plate, and he scores. The ball is dropped by McCracken, and Montague tails into second base. Duplessis stops at third. And the 4th run of the inning out of the ball game crosses for Redwood City. Watch it again. Just a little bouncer up towards second. Melanudo late on it. And Montague with his 2nd hit of the game and his 1st RBI.
Now batting shortstop, number 7, Tony Gomez.
So DeLucchi comes in. Duplessis on to third. And Gomez takes a called strike to start things out. 9th man to bat here in the 2nd inning for Redwood City. Remember, all of these runs coming with 2 outs. And this one chopped wide of third. Honda in fruitless pursuit. The inning started out with the Scroggins single. He then stole second. Agresti flew out to left center, and Reeves came up firing to get Scroggins sleeping off a second. Then 3 hits, 3 singles, the double by DeLucchi, the walk to Duplessis, the Montague signal. Here, that's where we are. And another single through the hole. This will play Duplessis coming behind him, Montague. And he's not stopping. And they just keep on coming for Redwood City. So Gomez with the RBI right there. We'll take another look. Nobody's really hit a line drive this inning. They've all been hit through the hole. 7th hit right there. 6th run to come across the plate for Redwood City. And Chris Scroggins has started it all out. Bats for the 2nd time this frame. And he takes the pitch outside for ball 1. And Parfait, frustrated, comes home with a strike. And it's 1-1. Just put that breaking ball over the outside corner, and Scroggins went fishing for it. Came up with an empty hook. Here's the 1-1. Breaking ball, swung on and missed. It's 1-2.
1-2.
Really, the best hit ball was DeLucchi's double, and that was almost caught by Ambruzzo. It was hit to the deepest part of the real estate here at McKelvey. 1-2 pitch. Well hit towards right center. Ambruzzo back on it off the fence. And everyone else off to the races. Gomez will stop at third. Scroggins into second with a double. Take another look right here. This is another well-hit ball, perhaps a little better hit than DeLucchi's.
Now batting catcher,
3/4 of the way up the
Anthony
fence.
Agresti.
And that keeps it alive for Redwood City. Their 8th hit of the frame, 2nd double. Everything else is single that got past a Mountain View fielder. And Tony Agresti standing in. Agresti flew out to left in the front end of that double play way back when this inning started. And he pops it up there again. Reeves coming on, and he'll take care of Agresti for the 2nd time this inning. But Redwood City comes up with 6 runs on 8 hits. There was an error. There were 2 left. And through 1.5, the score, Redwood City 6 and Mountain View 1. Well, Mountain View is going to try to get their heads above the water here in the bottom of the 2nd. They surrendered 6 runs in the top half of the frame. 8 hits doing the job for Redwood City, but they got the help of 3 errors on behalf of Mountain View, including 2 in that last inning. Coming up for Mountain View will be Chris Honda, Dan Vardy, and Vic Ambruzzo, the bottom third of the order, against Reggie Cabell. So the big inning, spelling Mountain View again. Remember, it was a 7-run number the other night that Redwood City put up on the board. A 6-run number here this evening, and we're only through an inning and a half. But Redwood City, a very good hitting club. They have a lot of good hitters on there, a lot of Serra ball players. And Pete Jensen, the head coach at Serra, works a lot on hitting with his ball players. In fact, the best hitter he ever coached, Greg Jeffries, donated a batting cage to the school about 10 years ago. It's open year-round, and a lot of the young men from Redwood City spend a lot of time there working on hitting fundamentals. So Chris Honda will lead off to face Cabell. I started a story a little earlier about the Boise, Idaho Hawks, the California Angels single A affiliate in the short season Northwest League. League that also includes the Bellingham Giants, and how they agreed to pay for any damage above $1,000, and it was $157.43. One of those things, it's, you know, we don't have commercials on KMVT, but when you watch the other sporting event that's going on right now on the Peacock Network, and they have those car ads, and they say, well, 7 years or 70,000 miles, whichever comes first. Well, it's the same idea. 0-1 here to Honda. Kind of makes you want to recall the time the New York Mets coming back from Houston after winning in the '86 National League Championship Series. Honda takes a pitch low, and that evens the count 1-1. Did $10,000 worth of damage to a Continental Airlines 727 in their celebration after the game, going back to LaGuardia from Houston's Hobby. 2-1 to Honda. Frank Cashin, the Mets GM at the time, came down to the clubhouse with the bill from Continental Airlines, said, okay, guys, you're going to pay for it. Davey Johnson stood up, ripped it up, and said, Mr. Cashin, these young men have won a National League title for your ball club, have put you in the World Series, you're going to pay it. And the players love Davey Johnson for it. 3-1 here to Honda. Frank Cashin did not, though. And he takes ball 4 high, and he's aboard to open up the second inning. So the first walk surrendered by Cabell this evening. And Dan Vardy to the plate. Neither pitcher with a strikeout yet. So Honda with a short lead off first. Vardy takes pitch in the dirt, and it's 1-0. But those '86 New York Mets were famous for a lot of their charades, both home and on the road. 1-0 pitch. That's in the dirt as well, and Vardy goes ahead 2-0. Charlie Samuels, their equipment manager, used to remark that he felt like the lead caddy on the PGA Tour because there were more golf bags than luggage on most of the flights. Shot past Papadakis at third for a base hit. Honda stops at second, and Vardy with Mountain View's 4th hit of the ballgame. So Victor Ambrusa has a dubious honor here, and that's he's the last man to bat for either team this ball game. He'll come up with nobody out and 2 on. Mountain View down by a 5 spot. Trying to get some offense going here in the second inning. And the first pitch drops in the dirt before it crosses the plate, and it's 1-0. You know, if you remember back to Tuesday's ball game, Mountain View came up with a pair of runs after Redwood City scored 7 on them. Here's the 1-0. He tries to go with the pitch, instead fouls it off, and it's 1-1. Not always the easiest thing to do, going with a pitch like that. Sometimes you turn it the opposite way. Sometimes you pick up a strike on the count. That's what Ambruso did right there. He picked up that strike. Honda off a second, Vardy off a first. Cabell with the 1-1. He misses low and away and falls behind 2-1. Honda has good speed off a second. He's yet to really take a sizable lead, as Montague will keep an eye on him from the right side of the bag. Cabell checks the runner, comes home. Fastball on the outside. Ambruso reaches and misses, and the count evens at 2-2. Nobody out here in inning number 2 for Mountain View. They trail by 5, 6-1. Here's the 2-2, and it's outside. The count goes full. Honda was off a second as Agresti lost the control of the ball, and he makes it back. So nothing changes. Still runners at first and second. Now the count is full to Abruzzo. Quick check of the runner. Cabell comes home, popped up off the right side, and Correa watches it land foul. So the count stays full. And Abruzzo trying to extend this at bat. He'll be reaching for anything close right here. Papadakis even with the bag at third. Runner goes, swing and a miss, throw down to third, and they've got Honda. So Abruzzo goes down swinging, Honda goes down running. And all of a sudden, 2 out. Vardy stayed at first.
Now
Taking another look right here.
Left fielder number 8, Elliott Reed.
Here's the swing and the miss, the throw by Agresti down to third, and the tag by Papadakis. And Honda goes in the books 2-5. So almost as good as a double play right there in terms of getting 2 outs. You don't call it a double play, though. And Elliott Reeves standing in. Elliott singled to left his first time up, later scored. Takes a breaking ball high for ball 1. Has the same effect, of course, with the 2 outs, but you don't score it that way. It's 2 separate transactions right there. And a pitch high to Reeves, and he goes ahead 2-0. But when the catcher can throw down the line like that, it's almost as good as a shortstop or a second baseman who can turn the pivot after receiving the ball. This is chopped back to the box. Cabell up with it. He's got time to throw to Correa, and that'll take care of Reeves. No runs a hit. 1 left here in the second for Mountain View, and after 2 full, Redwood City's on the driver's seat in this one.
For Mountain View in the bottom of the second inning.
Ed Montague Jr. has pulled up a chair on the first base side. We're waiting for his dad, Ed Montague Sr., veteran National League umpire, to join us here in the booth.
Top of the third inning. Third baseman number 6, Tony Papadakis.
Ed getting a good view right there of Tony Papadakis, who'll lead off the inning, followed by Scott Morton and Steve Correa. 7, 8, and 9, third of the order due here in the third for Redwood City. They plated 6 runs in the second, sent 12 to the plate. This is sky towards left center. Abruzzo all alone makes the catch. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the third. That'll bring Scott Morton to
now
play.
batting left fielder number 9, Scott Morton.
Morton with that single past Parfait on the mound into center field, drove in a run in the second. And he lofts this one, and a long run for Abruzzo, and he makes a diving catch. So 2 pitches, 2 balls hit to Abruzzo, 2 outs. How about that?
Now batting first baseman number 18, Steve Correa.
So 1 more hit to Abruzzo, he ties the all-time record for putouts by an outfielder in a single inning. Steve Correa stands in. And unlike his 2 predecessors, stays away from the first pitch, takes a ball high. It's 1-0. Parfait deals. Correa watches a pitch high and away, and he goes ahead 2-0. But how do you like that? 2 guys get out on the first pitch, both hit it to the center fielder, who's got to do a lot of running to get it. Swing and a miss at a fastball over on the count 2-1. Swing and a miss, and the count evens at 2-2. Parfait deals, popped up on the infield, left side, and McGuire is there for the catch. 3 up and 3 down for Redwood City in the third. Through 2.5, Redwood City up by 5.
No hits, no errors, no runners left on. Leading out for Mountain
Bottom of
View
the
in
third,
inning.
on a very
Shortstop,
warm
number
evening here at
22,
McKelvey
Matt
Park.
McGuire.
George Devine with you. Temperature in the high 80s here this evening. And those of you who are switching back and forth on the channels, well, Mountain View may not have gotten the Olympics, but they sure got some Atlanta weather today. Matt McGuire, Ryan McCracken, and Mark O'Hara, the 2, 3, and 4 spots in the Black Sox order, scheduled to appear here in the third. So, McGuire's first time up with a single. And he takes over at the knees. And it's 0-1. McGuire was forced off a second in that double play that McCracken hit into. Here's the 0-1. And McGuire jumps out of the way, and that evens the count at a ball and a strike. Reggie Cabell in his third inning of work tries to come inside and misses and falls behind 2-1. Here's a 2-1. McGuire tries to go with the pitch, instead fouls it off, and the count is even at 2-2. But a great night for baseball here. As I mentioned, temperature in the high 80s, a little bit of a breeze. Wear a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, make yourself comfortable. Great evening. Swung on and missed by McGuire. He reached for a pitch inside. Second strikeout for Cabell. One away, and Ryan McCracken to the plate.
Now batting catcher, number 20, Ryan McCracken.
Cabell deals, and he misses low and away. 1-0 the count. McCracken hit into that double play to short his last time up. That was the bad news. The good news was he drove in a run for Mountain View. Goes ahead here 2-0. Gomez flipped to Montague for the out on McGuire. Then Montague threw to first for the out on McCracken. But while that was happening, Elliott Reeves found a way to score from third. 2-1 right here to Ryan McCracken. So I always hate it when they go up to you and they say, well, George, we got some good news and we got some bad news. I never know what to ask for first. 2-1 pitch is swung on and missed on a pitch inside, and the count 2-2. Because, you know, one man's idea of good news could be somebody else's idea of bad news. Remember, like a lot of other things, it's relative. Well, is today a hot night? Well, that's relative. Depends on what you're used to. 2-2 pitch. Misses inside, the count goes full. It's like if you ever go to New York and somebody says, well, are you uptown or downtown? Well, that's a relative question. And McCracken reaches for a pitch outside of the strike zone. He goes down on strikes. Second straight strikeout. Third of the last 4 batters struck out by Cabell. And DH Mark O'Hara, who's singled with 2 outs in the first, stands in. 6-1 the score. Redwood City with 9 hits, getting help with 3 Mountain View errors. First pitch from Cabell, fouled off of Agreste's head, and the count 0-1 to O'Hara. So I'm sure they said good news, bad news to McCracken, but I'm sure what he wanted to hear was that he hit that one into the gap, couple extra bases, couple of runs batted in. This one hit off of the mound. Gomez corrals it, throws to first, gets the out. So Mountain View disappears quietly here in the bottom of the third, and through 3 full, trails by 5.
No runs, no hits, no errors.
Marty Naylor, number 19, has come on to do the pitching for Mountain View. He takes over for Robbie Parfett. Parfett going 3 full innings, surrendering 6 runs, 4 of them earned, 9 hits, no strikeouts, only 1 walk. Redwood City with that big 6-run spot in the second inning. Mountain View with the 1 run in the top of the bottom half of the first.
Center fielder, number 23,
That's been the only run scoring in this ball game. And after that third inning, when both sides went in order, you'd probably think this was a pitcher's duel if you just joined us, but then we spoiled that impression when we showed you the line score. Dustin DeLucchi at the top of the order leading off. Bill Duplessis and Ed Montague to follow here in the top of the 4th for Redwood City. And a called strike, fastball over at the knees, and it's 1-1 to DeLucchi. DeLucchi tonight has grounded to second, doubled to right center to drive in a run. He's scored a run, and he goes ahead in the count 2-1 right here. DeLucchi always has a good sense of humor. I've had the chance to talk to him a couple of times. He played basketball, baseball, and football for Serra the last 4 years. Had a chance not only to bump into him a couple of times working for KMVT, but also doing public address chores at Archbishop Reardon, and way back when, if you want to go way back, when I was still at Sacred Heart Cathedral. 2-2 now to DeLucchi. But always has a nice word for you and a smile on his face. And he hits this one, and he'll be smiling with this. Down the right field line, into the corner. That should fall for extra bases. He's got a full head of steam going to second and beats the throw for a double. So Dustin DeLucchi with something to smile about right there. He puts the masking tape down on the line. And with marksman-like accuracy, paints himself a double. Bill Duplessis, who's grounded to short and walked today, stands in. Duplessis was the catcher for Serra this past season. The Padres not having a great year by Padres standards. That meant they didn't win the CCS or the WCAL. In fact, they didn't even play for the title of either. They lost in the second round of the WCAL playoffs, lost in the first round of the CCS. In fact, with the exception of St. Francis this year losing in the CCS Division I championship game, the WCAL not having a great experience in the 16-team Division I tournament. Duplessis ahead here 1-0, getting us first look at Naylor tonight. DeLucchi off second, and he's late on a fastball low in the count 1-1. Paul Cunningham is walking out to have a look at Ryan McCracken. Brian Osorio, the other Mountain View catcher, is not with the team this evening. Osorio, if you remember the other night, was hit in the nose with a pitch. His nose broke. And Brian, who has had 2 previous broken noses this year, or actually in the past 12 months, including one on KMVT, was able to reset the fracture right there on the field. 1-1 here to Duplessis. Naylor with a check of the runner comes home and whips a curveball inside. Nice pitch. And he goes ahead in the count 1-2. Osorio in that home plate collision last July broke his nose against Ross Headley in Menlo Park. Then, you talk about Cal Ripken freak accidents, broke it in the celebration of John Hall's no-hitter. Going to third right there is DeLucchi. Duplessis takes a called third strike and is tagged by McCracken for the second out. Make it the first out. And now McCracken a bit shaken up, and Paul Cunningham out again to check his backstop, making sure he's okay. He was hit in the Adam's apple area of the neck, and that can affect your breathing and your speech and a lot of other functions. You got to have all your functions working properly if you're going to be successful. Taking a look at a replay right here. We'll see what happens. So, see the pitch coming in. And right off the neck of McCracken on the foul tip. So 1 away, DeLucchi at third. And the first pitch to Montague is low and away for ball 1. Montague with 2 hits and an RBI and a run scored this evening. Looking at Naylor for the first time tonight. Chance to buy some insurance for his club with DeLucchi taking a generous lead off third. Here's the 1-0 pitch. And Ed straightens his legs and the count goes to 2-0. Pitch up high, and Montague ahead in the count 3-0. Pitch, catches the corner, and a strike goes on the count as it's 3-1. Montague had the take sign on right there. Remember, it's a federal offense not to observe the take, steal, or hit sign. And a pitch inside, curveball catches the corner, and it's 3-2. Now he'll be swinging one way or another. Anything close, Montague will have to put aluminum onto leather. One down, full count, runner off third. 5-run lead for Redwood City, and that pitch misses outside. So Montague, after taking a couple of strikes, walks down to first. And that'll bring Tony Gomez to the plate.
Now batting shortstop number 7.
Now McCracken will go out and have a word with Naylor. Someone to think about right here. Montague with good speed over at first might get the steal sign to go to second. With a 5-run ball game, does DeLucchi with good speed try to come home? If McCracken throws to second, does Mountain View try to have the shortstop, McGuire, come in, or the second baseman, Melanudo, come in, take that throw 3/4 of the way, and then come back to McCracken in the event DeLucchi does go? And a throw would keep Montague honest is over to first. Montague back in plenty of time. Remember, it's not really a tough throw unless they have to hit the deck. And Montague didn't hit the deck right there, blows a bubble as he takes the lead. And Gomez reaches at a fastball outside and goes down in the count 0-1. So Mountain View trying to get all their signals and strategy together here. You don't want to go down by more than 5. Gomez takes a pitch up high on the count 2-2. Montague with a short lead off of first. And curveball misses inside, and it's 2-1. DeLucchi with about a 5-step lead. Montague extends his at first. Throw over. And number 11 back safely. Carl Hubbell's old number over there. I wonder what kind of a base runner Carl Hubbell was. Great pitcher for the Giants, has his number retired. 2-1, runner goes. Throw to second is faked by McCracken. And the count 2-2 on Gomez. McCracken had everybody fooled. He whipped his arm pretty hard, and he succeeded with the hidden ball trick. DeLucchi, however, was not fooled, stayed at third. Montague steals second, though. First base open. 1 out, and a 2-2 count to Gomez. Naylor looks in, and he throws high and outside, and the count goes full. This is a situation right here with the cleanup batter up where you might surrender first base with 1 out, hoping to get the double play to close out the inning. 3-2 pitch. Popped up center field. Coming in on it is Ambruzzo. Going back, Melanudo from second. Ambruzzo dives, makes the catch. DeLucchi tags at third. He comes home and scores. Montague stays put at second, and it's a 7-1 ball game. So a sacrifice fly to center field for Gomez. A run comes home, a quick appeal throw over to third. And Ed Costa said that DeLucchi did tag properly, so he does score the run. 2 down in the inning. And Chris Scroggins to play. Well, watch it right here. It's a tough play for Ambruzzo. He had to come in a long way. Melanudo was going back. Ambruzzo to his chest to make the catch.
Right fielder, number 27, Chris Scroggins.
And he holds onto the ball. 1-0 right here to Scroggins. He had a single and a double in that 6-run second inning. Pitch in the dirt. Montague takes off to third on the wild pitch.
2-0.
The 2-0 count to Scroggins. Redwood City, 7 runs, now on 10 hits. They keep on coming, putting together their own top 10 list here, and for team appearances at the plate. 3 2/3 innings. 3-0 now the count to Scroggins. Maybe David Letterman will consider moving the home office to Redwood City, California. He reaches for this one, skies it foul on the first base side. Feichmeyer over, and Melanudo also joining the chase, watches it drop, and the count goes to 3-1. The last thing you want to do on a 3-0 count is reach for a pitch outside of the strike zone and give the opposing team a chance to get a simple fly ball to end the inning. And Scroggins has to be thankful to the horticulturalist who designed this park, putting all those trees over there to obstruct Feichmeyer and Melanudo's view of the ball. 3-1 pitch. It's chopped into the dugout of Redwood City, and the count goes full. So Scroggins reaching for pitches, paying the price. He could have been at first base in some people's estimation. Now he deals with a full count. And Naylor, happy that Scroggins is complying with those wishes. And he takes a called strike 3, so Naylor strikes him out to end the inning, but Redwood City comes up with one more. On one hit, they strand one, and through 3.5, lead by 6, 7-1.
Top of the 4th inning.
Bottom of the 4th, ready to go. Mike Melanudo will lead things off. Grant Feichmeyer and Chris Honda will follow. Mountain View down by 6 runs, 7-1. First pitch to Melanudo, taken high for ball 1. Melanudo, his first time up, reaching on an error at short. That was a Mountain View plated their only run back in the first inning. 1-0 pitch, and it's sent back through the box for a base hit. Everyone's diving for it, but nobody's getting it.
Go, Mike. Something going this inning, guys. Come on.
So Melanudo with Mountain View's 5th hit right there.
Now
He likes the red jerseys.
44, Grant Feichmeyer.
And Grant Feichmeyer, who popped up to first to end the first inning. Stands right here. We just had the request to put the lights on here at McKelvey Park. So the lights come on as sunset approaches. Yeah, a lot of times you go to a major league park for a 7:35 game. You get out there at 3:30 as Feichmeyer takes a fastball for strike 1. Go out to watch early batting practice, and those lights have been on a while. Well, they don't have the same kind of budget for the PG&E bill here at McKelvey Park. They have some other places. 0-1 pitch, misses inside. It's 1-1. But I love to drive by Candlestick Park some nights, and they're not even playing. Team could be on the road. They got the lights on. 1-1. Melanudo getting his uniform dirty over there at first. Now Cabell looks in the dirt. Agresti locates it. No move by Melanudo. And the count 2-1. Here's 2-1 pitch. Tap between third and short. And Feichmeyer has a base hit. That moves Melanudo up 90 feet. So 2 straight hits to start off the 4th for Mountain View. They're trying to get some business going here, trailing by 6. We'll take another look at it.
Chris Honda.
Hit right through the hole. And Chris Honda, who walked his last time up and then was caught trying to go to third. Nice throw by Agresti after the Abruzzo strikeout. And Redwood City picked up 2 quick outs right there and doused the Mountain View threat in the second. Pitch low and away, and Honda goes ahead 1-0. Next half inning, National League umpire Ed Montague will be joining us. Ed's crew working the series this weekend between the Giants and the Dodgers. They saw a good ball game today. Time is called as Honda steps out. And pitch taken up high. It's 2-0. No matter what they call that place, it'll always be Candlestick to me. I don't care who pays how much. It'll always be Candlestick to me. 2-0, and Honda hits this one hard to short. Gomez to Montague for one. On to first. Correa extends. He's pulled off the bag. They only get the out at second on Feichmeyer. So Honda on the fielder's choice. Going to third, Melanudo. One out. But a tough chance right here for Gomez. He just spears this ball, flips it to Montague. Montague slow on the pivot. Correa had to extend that 6-6 frame and couldn't get it out long enough. So one out. 6-4 on the force at second. And a called strike taken low by Vardy, and he goes down on the count 0-1. So runners at the corners. Melanudo at third, Honda at first. Papadakis playing way off the line at third. And it's chopped between him and the line. A fair ball. One run comes home as Melanudo crosses the plate. Honda to second, and Vardy on with an RBI single. A made-to-order base hit right there for Danny Vardy. Take a look right here. Remember, Papadakis playing way off the bag. This one just painted right down the line. Didn't even have to hit it that hard. It was a matter right there of accuracy, winning out over distance and power. So Melanudo comes home, make it a 7-2 ball game. Honda ends up at third. Vardy on at first, and Ambruzzo bats for the second time tonight. He struck out the last time he faced Cabell. And he hits this one into right field. Long run for Scroggins. He lets it go past his glove. Honda comes home to score. Following him comes Vardy. He'll stop at third. Now they have a rundown between third and second, and they tag Vardy out as Honda scores. So Vardy goes out right there in the rundown play. Honda didn't exactly run as fast as he could. Remember, it was a fly ball with less than 2 outs, so not everybody was going on the crack of the bat. And that's where the confusion arose. So one run comes home. Take another look right here. You see the tough play by Scroggins. Goes off his glove, rolls towards the wall. And now Reeves starts out, fouling a pitch off out of Correa's reach.
Fielder number 8, Elliott Reeves.
That'll be ruled a base hit for Ambruzzo. A couple of tough balls into the outfield today. Pitch in the dirt. Runners stay put. So Vardy is taking care of 7-4-5-6. Make it 9-4-5-6 for the second out. 0-1 right here to 1-1 right here to Reeves. And he takes low for ball 2. So Mountain View now trailing 7-3. And a pitch inside, and it's 3-1. Make it 2-1. Count is 3-1. We verified it. That catches the corner, and it goes full on Reeves. Reeves was starting his trot down to first, and Acosta turns him around. Cabell looks in, runner off first. Swung on towards second. Montague grabs it for the out. But Mountain View comes up with 2 runs on 3 hits. They strand 1 through 4. They trail by 4. A lazy summer evening here in Mountain View. Redwood City not very lazy, though. They've scored 7 runs. Lead this ball game 7-3. They bat here in the 5th. Tony Agresti, followed by Tony Papadakis, then Scott Morton. First pitch by Agresti, taken for a called strike. And joining me, a man who's called many strikes in his 18-year career as a National League umpire, Ed Montague.
Thank you. Actually, it's 21, but that's nice, so my age isn't that. This is my 21st year up there.
Ed, a crew chief this season in the senior circuit, worked third base today, and the Giants win over the Dodgers.
Yeah, very nice day out there. Beautiful. I think they had 50,000 plus.
And they were all on your pass list, right?
All on my pass list. Well, I get a lot of them out here.
So Ed, originally from the San Francisco area, making his home San Mateo still?
San Mateo,
So the Green Book was right.
Yeah.
That's fouled off. The count stays 1-2. Of course, Ed doesn't have the luxury of staying in one city all year. Put a lot of miles on yourself.
Yeah, actually, this is only my second trip into San Francisco this year. I've already had 5 trips to Philadelphia. I think they gave me the East Coast crew, which I have Jerry Crawford with me, and Tom Halley and Wally Bell. They all live on the East Coast.
So 1-2 right here to Agresti as he fouled off a couple of more pitches. You probably tell your crew when you come to San Francisco, bring your cold weather gear, but this week.
Oh, it's beautiful. Actually, we get a lot of nice days out there. I was a vendor out there for 10 years as a kid, so I've seen a lot of nice days out there. It's the night times that set you back a bit.
2-2 pitch on the way right here. And he reaches for one outside the strike zone, hits the McGuire at short. He throws to first for the out.
Here we go. Looking good, Marty.
Now, a lot of fans, Ed, don't realize that umpires, just like players, come through the minor leagues and start out in spring training, work their way up, ride a lot of buses, or in the case of umpires, drive a lot of cars, a lot of miles over country roads.
Right. It's
Now batting third base.
you know, it could be a long haul in the minor leagues. I've got a couple partners that have been down there 15 years. I was fortunate enough to get up in 4.
So,
And but you know, I spent year-round umpiring. I went to the Instruction League twice, down to Puerto Rico, and into the major leagues.
1-0 to Fagoni. Now, a lot of good umpires have worked in the National League, a lot of great ones, Doug Harvey coming to mind. Is there anybody who you would say was your mentor or your sort of role model coming up?
Probably Paul Runge. I've worked with Paul in the minor leagues. He's probably one of the better umpires that I've worked with. Of course, I was with Lee Wire for 13 years, my first 13 years in the major leagues, and had a great time working with Lee. Yeah, quite a few of them. Bruce Fleming.
And, of course, you got to work that 1986 World Series.
Yeah, that was some series, Mets in Boston.
Now, where were you working for Game 6 in that game, Ed?
I was in right field when the ball went under Buckner's legs. Matter of fact, I picked the ball up and kept the ball. So I was the guy who had the ball.
And there are 53,000 people were at Shea Stadium that night who also claimed to have that ball. 3-1
Yeah.
right here to Fagoni, who's taken over Papadakis, chopped off the plate. Picked up by Naylor, but too late. Infield single for Fagoni.
Yeah, I kept the ball, and I put it in my pocket, and the next day we got rained out, and I put a little mark on the ball. And when the Mets came back in Game 7 and won the series, a good friend of ours, Arthur Richmond, who's been with the Mets for years, I gave him the ball.
Oh, so you don't have it anymore?
No, no. The story, we'll get to this.
So more
Yeah, I gave it to Arthur Richmond, and a few years back he asked if they can auction it off for charity. And I said, whatever you want, Arthur. I said, I gave it to you. The ball sold for $93,000.
a nice chunk of change right there.
Yeah, I went to some good causes, though.
Fagoni often running towards second on the pitch that gets away from McCracken. 1-0 right here to Morton. Once again, we're joined by National League umpire Ed Montague. And the other night, your son Ed was playing for Redwood City, and I said, like a lot of other famous baseball sons at Surrey, like Barry Bonds, he chose to wear his dad's number. You wear number 11.
Number 11, yeah. He's worn it all through Little League. And
1-0 pitch. That's inside the count, 2-0. I figured it was either you, Ed, or Carl Hubble that was his inspiration for that number. So, conference at the mound. So 5 times in Philadelphia this year.
Yeah, I've been on the East Coast quite a bit this year. But this is a nice homestand for me. I'm here for like 9 days.
Now, do you get any chances to bring your family along with you on the road during the season, or?
Yeah, every now and then they'll visit me somewhere during the summer months.
Feichmeyer at first, giving way to Milanudo at second for the out. And there are 2 gone. Now, one of the things a lot of fans have noticed this year. In fact, everybody's
Now batting
noticed
first
this year as
baseman,
Steve
number
Correa
18,
steps
Steve
in.
Correa.
The umpires changing their uniforms, going from the traditional light blue shirts like Ed Cost is wearing behind the plate right here to the dark blue ones. And I read in Baseball Weekly, they're letting you guys wear the light blue again because they're cooler on hot days.
Yeah, I haven't worn the light blue. I've stayed with the dark blue, which I like it. It's a golf shirt, but it is a lot warmer. I just came from Atlanta. We were there all week, and it was smoking down there. And but hot's hot. I don't care what you're wearing.
And it does get hot in Atlanta. I don't feel so bad in Atlanta for the athletes. I feel bad for the horses and equestrian.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's it'll take its toll. It's interesting. I'll be interested to see how these guys hold up this week. But these guys train in the heat, but that's some kind of hot down there.
The Braves going on a 17-game, 19-day road trip. They're going to avoid all that Olympic traffic and hassles.
Yeah, we got out of there just in time.
So 1-2 here to Correa. The Braves following the example the Houston Astros set in '92 when they had to vacate the Astrodome for 26 days because of the Republican convention. The Braves are lucky. They get 2 off days in San Diego.
Oh, I didn't look at that. That's a nice, be a good golf outing there.
1-2 right here to Correa.
And they've got some golfers on that ball club.
I was talking earlier before you joined us, Ed, about the Mets in the late 80s, and Charlie Samuels, their equipment man, used to say he felt like the head baggage guy on the PGA Tour with all their golf bags.
Yeah.
2-2 to Correa. Misses inside, and the count goes full. And then they had Jeff Torborg take over as manager in '92, and he banned golf altogether. And
yeah, different clubs have different rules.
we await the 3-2. Runner off second is Fagoni. And Correa fouls this off, extends his at-bat a little bit more. Now, I'm sure you worked 21 years in the major leagues as an umpire, and you don't flinch at too many foul balls. I know it took me about a year working here at McKelvey Park behind this screen before I realized it's not going to hurt me.
Yeah, no, you can't flinch. Sometimes we bail out, though, when you see that 58-footer coming in and the catcher's going one way, you're trying to go the other way.
That misses high, and Correa is lost down to first. That'll bring the top of the order, and Dustin DeLucchi.
Now batting the leadoff batter, center fielder number 23,
DeLucchi,
Dustin DeLucchi.
with a pair of hits tonight, scored a pair of runs, driven in one, and grounded to second. Had the chance, Ed, to see you work down this year in San Diego. I was down there for the Reds-Padres series, and the next night up to Dodger Stadium. Nice little baseball junket I took back in early June.
Yeah.
In fact, the fellow who was working third base on your crew in San Diego, Ron Barnes, used to officiate some high school basketball in this area.
Oh, was that right? Yeah, I had Ronnie up on the crew a couple times this year. He does a good job for us. And hopefully he's going to land a full-time job with us soon. But the turnovers it's tough getting up here.
Ron Barnes, one of the AAA umpires who works his way into the National League rotation when the regular members go out on injuries or go on mid-season vacation.
Right, yeah.
2-1 here to DeLucchi.
Now, Ronnie, he's a guy that spent quite a bit of time in the minor leagues. I think he's been down there something like 15 or 16 years. And like I say, it's a matter of turnovers and who's coming, who's going out. And we haven't had too many turnovers lately.
Now, they have a rule of 7. If you don't get picked up on an option in 7 years, you have to stop on the minors. Is that the way it works?
You know, they did. I don't think that holds up anymore, but I knew that was in effect for a while there. I'm not sure what that, the minor league program, how they're running it now. But we have quite a few guys that have passed that.
So 3-1 right here. And that's high. Second straight walk surrendered by Naylor. And DeLucchi aboard, Bill Duplessis to the plate.
Now batting designated hitter number 21,
the
Bill
base is
Duplessis.
loaded for Redwood City. Fagoni is at third, Correa at second, DeLucchi at first. 2 outs here in the top of inning number 5. And Redwood City trying to add to a 4-run lead. First pitch paints the outside corner. It's 0-1 to Duplessis. Now, there's been a lot of talk the last couple of years, Ed, about calling the true strike zone. And, you know, they talk about the National League strike zone, the American League strike zone. And that was a pitch right there on the outside corner. Maybe it had a seam over the outside, maybe the whole ball over the outside, but it goes over for a strike. And one of the reasons in the majors that they want to speed games up is because they say they don't call enough strikes.
Yeah, I don't think the strike zone's changed. I think it's it's the pitching, and you're not getting the pitching that you used to. We do try to call a lot of strikes. I think the National League is known for calling quite a few strikes. And if you get a pitcher out there like Maddox or Glavin, somebody that's in the groove, you know, around the plate all the time, you get in the groove yourself.
So 3-1 right here is Marty Naylor trying to find some kind of a groove as he's behind Duplessis. Trying to find a little Greg Maddox in his arm out there. Left-hander deals. And he misses inside. And he walks home a run. That changes this ball game. It goes from being a 4-run affair to being a 5-run affair. So one swing of the bat won't be able to do it for Mountain View. Paul Cunningham is walking out to the mound to have a word with Naylor. And this could be it for the lefty. Some action starting to brew down in the bullpen. And Paul Cunningham into his talk out there. This is another job that umpires have. You got to put an end to these conventions out at the mound.
Oh boy, I tell you, some of the parks, well, like Candlestick, it's a long way from the dugout to the mound. And when you get a guy that just kind of takes his time, you're adding a couple more minutes to the game.
Well, at Candlestick, you've got a lot of foul territory, and if you did it right, you could probably waste a couple of commercials on TV coming out from that third base dugout.
Yeah.
Or even the first base
Now
dugout.
batting second baseman, number 11, Ed Montague.
And here's your son, Ed Montague Jr. up. Couple of hits tonight, and a walk. Batting with the bases loaded. Takes a strike over at the knees. And goes behind 0-1.
Get out of here.
Of course, the one thing at Candlestick, if you do toss somebody from a game, they have a long walk, especially if they're on the visiting team.
club, sure do.
And if you toss Tommy Lasorda, you have to wait for the police escort. Inside the Montague and the count 1-1. So your son's going to be a junior at Sarah High School next year?
He'll be a junior, yeah, this year.
Going to be a big part of the Sarah Padres. Hopes to recapture the WCAL flag next spring.
Yeah, they've got quite a few kids on that JV team that, well, they won their title, the JVs. They've got some good-looking kids on that team. Scroggins, for one. A kid pitching named Jimmy Lint, who did a great job for the junior varsity last year. I see he struck out 14 the other night in the DiMaggio League.
2-1 to Montague. And he's very patient on a pitch outside. It's 3-1.
I told him I didn't come here to see him swing the bat.
You probably don't get too many chances to see your son play given all the travel.
No.
This is skied towards right, coming in on it, Vardy. He's there for the catch and the out.
Yeah, I've gotten to see a couple of games this year, but that's about it. So, matter of fact, I had the play-by-play while we were in Florida for their championship game over at Sarah. I had the clubhouse kid talking to my wife on the car phone, running out the scores to me.
Well, I'd hate to see that, though. Redwood City picks up another run here in the fifth. And they extend their lead to 8-3 through 4.5.
Redwood City leads it.
Matt McGuire, Ryan McCracken, and Mark O'Hara to bat in the home half of the fifth for Mountain View. They'll be facing Kevin Brady, a hard-throwing right-handed pitcher for Redwood City. We saw him the other night. He picked up the win against Mountain View. Throws a lot of heat. Also a pretty good basketball player. Plays for John Grossi and the Sarah basketball team in the wintertime. And his first pitch to McGuire is on the outside corner for a called strike. George Devine, along with National League umpire Ed Montague here in the KMVT broadcast booth. We're glad to have Ed with us. And the count 1-1 to McGuire. We had Elvis Gerback earlier this year, so.
Is that right? Yeah.
We're keeping our fine tradition of getting people everybody knows in here. This is well hit to right. It's got a chance. It's off the bottom of the fence. That'll drop for extra bases. McGuire rounds first. He'll stop at second with a double. So Matt McGuire with his second hit of the night. He's now 2 for 3.
Nice poke there.
You didn't have some bad pokes this evening when you were hitting fungos. You had a couple that went off the fence like McGuire did right here.
I've got that pitching
batting
mound
pitcher
power.
number
I can get him
20,
out from the
Ryan
pitching
McCracken.
mound.
There was a fella, as Ryan McCracken stands in, and his name escapes me right now, but he was the coach, I think he was one of the coaches for the California Angels, and he died recently, and they retired his number.
Jimmy Reese.
Jimmy Reese. I took a tour of Anaheim Stadium when I was down in L.A., and the tour guide claimed he could pitch batting practice with his fungos.
Is that right? I wouldn't be surprised. That's some of those old timers. Jimmy played back when my dad played. You know, my dad played for Cleveland back in the late 20s, early 30s, and actually played for the Seals, I think 1923 or 24.
Back in the days when San Francisco had 2 ball clubs, the Missions and the
Mission
Seals.
Reds, yeah.
1-1 here to McCracken. Of course, San Francisco just recently approved the new ballpark for the Giants, and I won't believe it's there until I'm announcing it and Ned's behind home plate.
Yeah, that'd be terrific, huh?
That catches the corner for a called strike. It's 1-2 to McCracken. You've had the chance to work in some of the newer facilities around the baseball, most notably Coors Field. And that's got to be an exciting experience. A downtown ballpark, fans up close.
Oh, it is. It's a great city, and the ballpark's beautiful. It's you know, we walked there from our hotel, and quite a few restaurants and shops all around the area, and it's really a beautiful city.
One luxury, you don't have a candlestick unless you stay at the Bayside Motel on Bayshore Boulevard.
Yeah.
2-2 right here to McCracken. Brady deals a fastball. McCracken reaches at a pitch high. He goes down on strikes. First strikeout for Brady. And Mark O'Hara
Now
stands
batting
in.
designated hitter number 35.
Of course, a lot of the ball
Mark O'Hara.
players in a lot of cities, I know Montreal and New York, take the subway to the ball games. Do the umpires follow suit and do that too?
Yeah, well, in New York, I stay out by the airport now, but for years we stayed downtown in Manhattan, and yeah, we take the subway, you know, to and from the park. It's a rough subway system. Montreal's nice, and actually a lot quicker than going out in the car if you jump on that subway there. So Montreal's got a nice setup there.
Montreal, of course, still paying for their Olympics they held 20 years ago. They went bankrupt on those games.
Well, when we first got in there, they were building hotels like they were, I mean, going out of style, and they spent a lot of money in that town.
Now, you probably got a chance to work at Parc Géry with the swimming pool.
Yeah,
in
that
right
was my first year in the league. I worked Parc Géry.
1-0 pitch to O'Hara.
Yeah, that was 1976. It's last year in existence there.
And then the Expos doing as Atlanta will do next year, moving into the old Olympic Stadium. 2-0 pitch. And O'Hara reaches for it, and the count is 2-1. I have a hard time convincing people that Olympic Stadium used to be an outdoor thing. They don't believe that Rick Monday hit a home run there in the snow in '81 to win the playoffs for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
They think of it as a dome stadium. 2-1 pitch from Brady.
Yeah, it was outdoors for, I don't think they put a dome on it for 5 or 6 years after it was built. And then they had a lot of trouble with the roof closing and not closing. And
3-1. And that misses outside, and O'Hara's aboard. So runners at the corners for Mountain View with 1 out. And Melanudo coming to the plate, so Brady venturing a little bit into troubled waters. But the National League right now with the older ballparks, believe it or not, in Major League Baseball, you've got Candlestick, the second oldest next to Wrigley Field. Wrigley probably a fun place to work for you.
that's a great park, yeah. You think of Wrigley and Fenway Park. Like I said, I was in '86 World Series, and Fenway Park was really a treat to work. And Wrigley's always nice to go out to. Greatest fans in baseball right there.
Always wanted to get there. See, been to 7 parks, have been fortunate enough, but Wrigley Field not one of them. 1-0 pitch, And Milanoto reaches for a fastball outside the strike zone, and the count evens at 1-1. But right now, plans on the table, not only for the new park in San Francisco, little talk in Pittsburgh, little talk in Philadelphia, New York, talking about getting a new park for the Mets right across the street from Shea Stadium. And a swing and a miss by Milanoto. He goes down in the count 1-2. So the National League with some graying monuments to the game. A lot of those old multi-purpose stadiums.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Called strike outside, and Milanoto's caught looking. Brady pulls the wool over his eyes, and all of a sudden 2 outs.
Just looking at the
Now batting first baseman number
pictures of the
44,
new stadium here, I mean, it just looks, I mean, it's beautiful. I just, you know, sitting there on the bay, I just hope it's not as cold as Candlestick.
And Grant Feichmeyer stands in. Hank Greenwald has a funny story that he tells on a lot of broadcasts. He says, you know, a lot of broadcasters and fans judge the win by looking at the flags. He said he looks at the umpire's trousers.
Yeah.
And how much your trousers are whipping tells him how cold it is outside.
Yeah. They're not exactly tailor-mates.
But, you know, given this aside, people talk about the cold weather at Candlestick. They've never been to a night game in New York or Philly in April.
Yeah. Or Chicago when that wind comes off the lake.
The Cubs had a series earlier this year where their equipment man was calling the Bears practice facility for extra gear for their pitchers to keep warm. That was that series against the Dodgers when Chan-Ho Park got his first win. 1-1. Pitch outside, catches the corner. 1-2 to Feichmeyer. I was in New York about 3 years ago at Shea Stadium. It started snowing. Punchline is day before it was 80 degrees. This was in April. That can happen back there. But you know, I'll tell you something, Ed, there were nights at Candlestick in July I felt colder.
Oh yeah. They say that old saying of spending a summer and or a winter.
Mark Twain.
July, yeah, San Francisco.
Feichmeyer reaches for one out of the zone. 3 strikeouts in the inning for Brady. No runs, a hit, 2 left for Mountain View in the 5th. And they're trailing through 5.
For Mountain View in the bottom of the 5th inning. No.
Marty Naylor on to work another inning. The left-hander with a defensive replacement behind him. Nate Nishiguchi at second base. Tony Gomez, Chris Scroggins, then Tony Agresti. Part of the Redwood City order due. And the first pitch to Gomez taken inside for a called strike. George Devine with you, along with Ed Montague, who's been kind enough to join us here in the booth this evening. So you'll be working second base tomorrow, Ed.
Second base, yeah. And it'll be another beautiful day out at Candlestick. It was really nice today. Had all the sun worshipers out there today.
That's when you see me up in the shade.
Yeah, yeah, well, it was hot today.
1-1 right here to Gomez. And he takes a strike on the outside corner, 1-2. Of course, the Major League rotation for the crew goes the plate to third base to second base to first, and then
back behind the plate, which I'll be there on Tuesday with the Cubs.
This is rifled towards Nishiguchi. He grabs it, throws to first, where McGuire now stands, and there's one away. So Matt McGuire taking over at first base for Feichmeyer. Milanoto scooting over to
batting
short.
right fielder number 27, Chris Scroggins.
So Chris Scroggins standing in. And a called strike. Start out Scroggins, 0-1 the count. This is chopped again towards Nishiguchi. He's up with it, throws to first. And quickly, 2 gone, both 4-3. Not only do umpires and pitchers like 1, 2, 3 innings, but so do broadcasters and producers.
Love those double plays.
So our producer, Lazarus Sargenitas, likes it because it's less tape he has to use.
Yeah, there you go. We don't see too many 1, 2, 3 innings anymore.
Well, you just don't. I don't think you see the quality of pitching
no,
that you saw. Even I think is even as early as the late '80s. You don't see the same quality of pitching. Of course, 2 expansion teams added to the
Right.
mix since then.
Yeah, the expansion, and yeah, I remember growing up as a kid, and you used to see each ball club had at least 3 great starters. You know, the Dodgers, you know, with Koufax and Drysdale, and Giants with Marichal Perry, and you think around Atlanta. Well, actually, it was Milwaukee then, Spahn and Burdette.
So a walk given to Agresti, and Fagoni comes to the plate.
Now batting, third baseman number 16, Rick Fagoni.
So Fagoni's been up once tonight. He's flied to center. Also reached on an error by the pitcher. First pitch taken inside for ball 1. Quick throw back. Not in time, says Rich Moore. Rich, believe it or not, 31 years old, has been umpiring for 17 years, since he was 14.
Is that right?
Umpired since he was old enough to umpire Little League games in his first year here in the Mountain View area. He's a member of the United States Air Force stationed at Onizuka Air Force Base. So, the veteran crew we have assembled here. This is popped up and foul along the first base side. The count 1-1.
Well, both these guys have been doing a great job tonight. You know, very consistent. And that's, you know, that's all they can ask, just consistency. That's good. 14 years old he started, huh?
Now, when did you make the transition from being a player to being an umpire? What got you interested?
I couldn't hit the curveball. I played up until, well, I was 21 years old, semi-pro around the Bay Area. And, you know, my father was a scout for 40 years with the Giants, and when he told me, you know, the best I was going to do was maybe A or AA ball as a player, and it was actually my mother who suggested, why don't you try umpiring?
So they sent you off to one of those schools
Yeah,
in
I went off
Florida?
to the umpire development program down in St. Petersburg, Florida, which was a 5-week course then, and from there into the minor leagues.
And 21 years later?
Yeah, here I am. Haven't aged a day.
But a lot of people would really, you
Now
know,
batting, left fielder
love
number
to
9,
do what you
Scott
do.
Morton.
And that's following something that you love. And
Yeah, it's a great job. You know, sometimes with the travel and stuff, and you're away from the family, and that's, you get down and you miss a lot of things. But you know, the off season, you've got 5 months off in the winter time, and like you say, it's something you love doing.
0-2, our first pitch with 2 outs. And it's
Yeah.
popped up, the count 0-1.
Yeah.
You got to be careful when you look at that scoreboard real quick. They got the strikes next to the outs.
Right,
And
yeah.
sometimes they,
What scoreboard?
the scoreboard. Now, I'm sure in the majors you keep the counter. Every umpire on each base keeps the counter going.
Just at home plate.
Just at home plate?
Yeah, just the home plate umpire carries the indicator. I know in Legion and the lower leagues, the base umpire also carries one.
1-1 pitch is inside the count 2-1. I know some guys who announce at different levels. Not anybody's a major league announcer, but some minor league announcers who keep a counter in their left hand if they write with their right. Just
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
2-1 is fouled off in the count 2-2. I know that when I do football, a lot of times you see the football official with the elastic band to indicate the
Right.
down. I keep
Right.
that on my fingers,
Uh-huh.
just so I don't miss it down. It's the last thing you want to do is say it's 4th down, then have the offense come out for one more play.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. 2-2, runners go. Called strike. That'll end the inning. And we'd like to extend our thanks to Ed Montague for joining us in the KMVT broadcast booth. Hope to have you back soon, and we
Thanks,
hope
George.
to see you
It's been a pleasure.
as we are in the middle of 6 innings here at McKelvey Park. 6 more outs for Mountain View here in this ball game, bottom of the 6th. Chris Ashley has taken over for Chris Honda, now playing third base. Ashley trying to get someone going in his first at bat. Once again, we'd like to thank Ed Montague for joining us in the booth. Always a pleasure to have anybody along who can really share a great experience about sports, or 21 years of great experiences like Ed can. 0-1 here to Ashley. And Brady misses outside with a fastball to count even at 1-1. Take a look at the line score right there. Redwood City with the big hurt in the second inning and a little insurance in the fourth and the fifth. 8-3 their lead. Brady steps off the rubber. Time is called as Ashley also follows suit and stepping out. So that hits Ashley. He goes on down to first. That'll bring Danny Vardy to the plate.
Now batting right fielder,
everybody's
number
okay.
25, Dan Vardy.
So if you ever wondered what happened to the ground ball hit by Mookie Wilson and Bill Buckner, you found out tonight on KMVT. Ed Montague picked it up, and it was later auctioned off for a good cause for $90-some-odd thousand. First pitch from Brady outside, ball 1. George Devine, glad to have you with me this evening on KMVT. We're here at McKelvey Park in Mountain View. 8-3. Redwood City with the dark jerseys with the lead. 2-0 right here to Dan Vardy. You know, in baseball, you usually have 2 colors of uniforms. White for the home team, gray for the road team. Tonight, each club breaking out with a little more color than that. Vardy reaches and the count 2-1. Mountain View going with their crimson road jerseys. Redwood City in their black away tops. And a check swing called strike, and it's 2-2. So 2-2 right here to Vardy. Runner off first is Ashley. Pitch in the dirt, and the count goes full. But situation right here at Mountain View just trying to peck away and see what they can do. Pitch in the dirt, and Vardy's aboard. So a hit batsman, now a walk, 2 runners on here in the 6th. And Vic Ambruzzo to the plate.
Now batting center fielder, number 4, Vic Ambruzzo.
With a single as last time. Before that, he struck out swinging. So Cabell went 4 innings, giving up 3 runs. Brady has been on since the bottom of the 5th. And the first pitch is over for a called strike. 0-1, the fastball nasty that time. 3 runs on 7 hits. 2 of the runs earned for Cabell. Brady picking up in the 5th inning on in relief. He looks back at second, now steps off. But you talk about the color of the jerseys, that'll matter this Friday when we're down at San Jose City College for the North-South All-Star game. Pitch outside, the count 1-1. Mentioned it earlier, I'll mention it again. Several players from the Mountain View area, including St. Francis stars Chris Spraker, David Watts, Darren Svedman, joined by Mountain View Spartans of the class of 1996. Ryan McCracken, Dion Mooland will be playing in the annual benefit for Lou Gehrig's disease research, and for Charlie Wiedemeyer, popped up center field. DeLucchi on his horse gallops over, makes the catch, runner's tag. Ashley, with a quick look towards third, will stay at second, as the throw would have beaten him. So 1 away, nobody moves up, and Elliott Reeves, top of the order, to the plate. But Charlie Wiedemeyer, who for years and years coached Los Gatos High School, led the Wildcats to a CCS title in a very emotional title game in 1985, beating St. Francis. That was his last year as head coach at Los Gatos. And at the time, he had been stricken and paralyzed by Lou Gehrig's disease, was in a wheelchair, communicated the signals for the plays to his wife, who then passed them on to the other coaches on the staff. Very remarkable story. And Reeves starts out with a called strike at the knees. It's 0-1. And for the last several years, the annual All-Star game has been a benefit for ALS research and for Charlie Wiedemeyer. Foul tip, it's 0-2. Charlie had a famous brother. You know, we had Ed Montague in here tonight. Famous umpire. Well, Charlie had a famous brother. Still has him. Herman Wiedemeyer, who was in Hawaii 5-0. But for Bay Area college football fans, was the quarterback at St. Mary's College in the early 50s. Reeves swings at a pitch outside the strike zone. He goes down on strikes for the second out.
Now
And
batting,
McGuire
shortstop, number 22,
has
Matt
the weight of
McGuire.
2 runners on with 2 outs come onto his shoulders. 8 runs on 10 hits and 1 error for Redwood City. Mountain View 3 runs on 9 hits, 4 errors. Redwood City has stranded 9. Mountain View has stranded 6. They want to get these 2 more in before they make that number 8. Wild pitch gets away from Agresti. He holds on. Ashley holds on to second despite showing a step or 2 towards third. But Herman Wiedemeyer was on Hawaii 5-0 along with Jack Lord. 1-0 pitch on the outside for a called strike. You know, a lot of people grew up with the old expression, the sun never sets in the British Empire, back when England ruled India and Canada and Australia and Malta and Hong Kong and a bunch of other places. Another called strike to McGuire, and he goes behind 1-2. I grew up as a child in the 1970s and the 1980s with the sun never setting on Hawaii 5-0, syndicated to every time zone at every time of the day. So, 1-2 pitch. Misses low, and it's 2-2. Once sat down and figured you could watch it about 8 times a day in San Francisco. You just bought basic cable. You didn't have to do anything fancy. So, 2-2 pitch to McGuire. On its way, Brady deals a fastball. McGuire hits it back through the box and through for a base hit. Here comes Ashley. He'll score standing up. Agresti with the throw up the line. He looks Vardy back to second and keeps McGuire content with a single. Taking a look right here. Nice job of hitting the ball up into the middle of the field, right past Brady.
Now batting catcher, number 20, Ryan.
So an RBI for McGuire, his 3rd hit of the night. He's now 3 for 4, and Ryan McCracken comes up. So Vardy off second. McGuire off first, McCracken standing in. Pair of strikeouts, and he's hitting to a double play tonight. Driven in a run in the process of grounding into that double play. Goes ahead in the count here, 1-0. But as I mentioned earlier, KMVT will be bringing the Charlie Wiedemeyer All-Star Game into your living rooms or wherever you have your TV and cable set up in your Mountain View homes next Friday night. But we'd love to have all of you out there. It's for a very good cause. You're going to see some very good athletes out on the field. Very enjoyable evening. Hopefully the weather stays warm. And the pitch upstairs and the count 2-1 down at San Jose City College. The Lee Avenue, Baskin Avenue off-ramp off of southbound Highway 280, about a 10-minute jaunt. 2-1 pitch, hit back through the box. Could this be another base hit? Montague tries to stop it off of his glove. Here comes Vardy to score, throw up the line. And it's a 3-run ball game, 8-5. So a base hit right there for Danny Vardy, drives for Ryan McCracken, drives in Danny Vardy. Another run for Mountain View here in the 6th. Ed Montague Jr. with a tough time on that
now
one.
batting, designated hitter, number 35, Mark O'Hara.
Came out of his position and came behind the bag trying to corral that one and prevent it from going through. But he got singed in the process. So Vardy scores. McGuire moves up to second. And the first pitch to O'Hara is taken high and away for ball 1. Pitch low, and it's dropped by Agresti as he was faking a throw, and the count 2-0. Got to be careful sometimes when you grab that ball. Agresti also a Serra Padre. Ed Montague has talking about the Serra Junior class of next year. A lot of talent in the class of '98. Serra High School. O'Hara reaches for a pitch, sends it towards first. Correa flipping to Brady, and Brady is at the bag in time for the out. We'll take a look before we close out the inning here on this play. A tough play indeed, as Brady comes over and covers the bag. See the chopper. You see Correa coming in on the grass. A couple of big guys over there. They get the out, and they finish the 6th. Mountain View trailing by 3 through 6. Nick Lustig becomes the 3rd Mountain View pitcher of the night as Paul Cunningham keeps the hurlers passing the baton. Parfait, the right-hander, went 3. Then the southpaw Naylor went another 3. And now Lustig on for the 7th. 8 runs on 10 hits and 1 error for Redwood City. Mountain View with 5 runs on 11 hits and 4 errors. Redwood City stranding 9, Mountain View stranding 8. 1-0 here to Steve Correa, the bottom of the order, leading off the inning, followed by Dustin DeLucchi and then Bill Duplessis. 1-0 pitch. Inside for a called strike. The fastball bites that time, and it's 1-1. Correa tonight with a single to drive in a run, a pop out to McGuire at short, and a walk. Big swing and a miss right there, and the count 1-2. Now 2-2 to Correa. The count full now to Correa. Just figuring out the final line here on Naylor. Goes 3 innings, gives up a couple of runs. Only 1 hit, 3 strikeouts, but 5 walks. Giving him some trouble. And a called strike 3 at the knees. Correa heads back to the bench. 1 down here in the top of inning number 7 for Redwood City. And Dustin DeLucchi will stand in. DeLucchi is grounded to second. Double to right. Double to right again. And walked. Had 1 double to right center that Ambruzzo had go off his glove. He had another one down the line towards the 335 sign. Takes the first pitch high and away for ball 1. If you're looking ahead to the bottom of the 7th inning when it's the last chance for Mountain View, Melanudo, Ashley, and Fikmeyer. This one's hit a long way. Ambruzzo will watch it land for a home run. So Dustin DeLucchi hit a couple of doubles as long as he could hit them last couple of times he was up. This time he goes the entire route. No doubt about that one. That's lost into the night sky. And that makes it a 9-5 ball game. So he just hit that one a mile. Big swing by Dustin DeLucchi. Take another look right here. That ball had home run written all over it from the get-go. Ambruzzo can just turn around and watch it land.
Number 21, Bill Duplessis.
Nick Lustig tries to smile his way through it. So Lustig giving up his first hit right there, his first run. Gets all those firsts out of the way in one swing by Justin DeLucchi. So Bill Duplessis stands in. Lustig looks in right there, sees a sign he likes, comes home with it. This is well hit on the ground towards short. And Shiguchi over to McGuire for the out. That Melanudo at short. 2 away, and Ed Montague to the plate.
Now batting second baseman, number 11, Ed Montague.
Montague has singled twice, driven in 1 run, walked and flied to right. 2 for 3. Batting here with the bases empty in the 7th inning, 2 outs. And he stays off a pitch up high, and it's 1-0. It was funny when his dad was in here in the booth back in the 5th inning, he said, I didn't come to see him walk. So in that situation, he flied to right. And ahead in the count here, 1-0. Now they're waiting for the lights to come back on. There are a couple of lights behind home plate here that are on a timer. It's good for about an hour, and then you reset the timer when it quits on you. So we turned it on about an hour ago, and it died. So we started up again. 2-0 right here to Montague. Man, he jumps away from a pitch inside. The count 3-0. I think this is the 4th time Montague has worked 3 balls in the count tonight. Had a 3-0 count, and he singled in the 1st. 3-0 in the 5th, and he walked. 3-0 in the 6th, he flies to right, and 3-0 here in the 7th, and he walks again.
Now batting shortstop, number 7, Tony Gomez.
So with Montague aboard at first, Tony Gomez comes to the plate. This is popped up left field. Reeves gives way to Ashley from third. It falls in front of Melanudo. Montague goes over to third base. And just a lot of miscommunication right there. Reeves had the initial beat on it coming in from left field. Then when he realized he was nowhere close, he put his head down. Melanudo comes over and obstructs Ashley's view, and it just lands in front of both. And that's a situation right there where if it works properly,
Now
Reeves becomes the tour guide for everybody else. 1-0 here, the count to Chris Scroggins. So the error will be charged to the shortstop, Melanudo, on that. Montague ends up at third base. So the official score out here, giving the error right there. Foul tipped at the plate. And the count 2-1 to Scroggins. Just a lot of miscommunication out there. You say, well, there was no physical error. Well, a mental error and just handling the whole situation from Mountain View. That circus needed a ringmaster. 3-1 now, the count to Scroggins. And Lustig working out at the stretch. Comes home, misses high, and he loads him up. It's a second walk surrendered with 2 outs here in the 7th.
Now batting catcher, number 8, Anthony Agresti.
And you have to wonder if the DeLucchi home run shook his confidence at all. Tony Agresti comes up. Lustig's job in this inning is to go 1-2-3, give Mountain View a chance when it's still a 3-run game. 8-5. Instead, he gives up the home run. It's 9-5. So Mountain View, in order to tie this thing, is going to have to send at least 4 men to the plate in the 7th and score them all. It's a lot easier when it's only a 3-run deficit to come back from. That way you can win it with 1 swing. This way you can only tie it with 1 swing. 1-0 to Agresti. Lustig comes back with a fastball and he fouls it off. It's 1-1. Just becomes a little more improbable to come back from a 4-run deficit than a 3-run deficit. Time is called by Ed Costa. Now time will resume. Lustig looks in for the sign from McCracken. Deals a fastball popped up on the infield. Calling for it, Melanudo. He catches it in front of Nishiguchi for the out. Well, Redwood City comes up with 1 run on 1 hit. That's the blast by DeLucchi. They strand 3,
For
And
Redwood City
through
in the
6.5,
top
lead by
of the
4.
seventh,
Mountain View with their last
1 error,
chance
3 runners
forthcoming.
left on base. At the end of
Well, you heard Ed Montague's voice a few innings ago. Now you see his face, standing there enjoying the game, sunglasses on his collar, watching his
leading
son's
off for
club
Mountain
with a
View in the bottom of the
9-5
seventh inning,
lead.
shortstop, number
Redwood
2,
City
Mike
on top of
Melanito.
Mountain View here in the bottom of the 7th. Last chance for the Black Sox coming up. Chris Scroggins has come on to do the pitching for Redwood City. Kevin Brady has gone into right field. So a flip-flop in the lineup right there. And the first pitch to Melanito is over for a called strike. It's 0-1. He'll be followed by Fikmeyer and then Chris Ashley. That's foul back and the count 0-2. So Mountain View had the early lead in this one. Scored a run in the first. And Redwood City came back with a half dozen in their half of the second. That's the difference in this ball game. This one's fouled off, and the count stays 1-2. And a swing and a miss. Melanito is history here in the 7th. First strikeout for Scroggins. Scroggins picking up where Brady left off. Brady went 5 innings
now
after
batting second baseman, number 5, Nate Nishiguchi.
Reggie Cabell worked the initial 4. And Nate Nishiguchi stands in. Nishiguchi batting for the first time tonight in Fikemeyer's spot. He'll be followed by Chris Ashley. And Nishiguchi takes a fastball over at the knees for a called strike 1. 0-1 to Nate. So Mountain View down to their final 2 outs. And the next pitch, breaking pitch, misses high and away, 1-1. Nishiguchi just trying to get on. Mountain View needs base runners. And strike right there. It's 1-2. So Nishiguchi down to his final strike. Mountain View down to their final 4 strikes. That misses low. Should say this is DeLucchi on the mound and not Scroggins. The count 2-2. So Scroggins moving to center, and DeLucchi coming on to pitch. When you get the information third hand sometimes, it often shows its wear and tear. And now Agresti out to have a word with the left-hander. It's a very talented Redwood City club trying to notch their 27th victory of the season with 16 defeats. Their 43rd outing of the year here tonight. A long season. Swing and a miss by Nishiguchi. He's done. And so DeLucchi throwing heat here in the 7th. Strikes out the first 2 he faces. And Chris Ashley, the last hope for Mountain View.
Now batting third baseman, number 6, Chris Ashley.
First pitch to Ashley, a called strike, a fastball over at the belt. And it's 0-1. I'd like to take this chance to thank our crew tonight, led by Lazarus Sargenitas, our producer and director. Always assembles a good crew for us to bring you the pictures and the sounds of the ball game here from McKelvey Park. 0-1 fouled off, and Mountain View down to their final strike. Also like to thank the folks from the DiMaggio outfits from Mountain View and Redwood City for their help tonight. Casey McGuire here in the booth. Thank our special guest Ed Montague for his time. Always a pleasure to have Ed in the booth with us. 0-2 pitch. Ashley takes low for ball 1. DeLucchi deals 1-2, misses high, overpowers on a fastball. The count evens at 2-2, so Ashley gets a little clemency right there. But Redwood City kept those bats going tonight in this ball game and has put Mountain View in a pretty tough hole. Black Sox down to their final strike. It's the comebacker. DeLucchi finds it, throws to first, gets the out, and Mountain View goes in order in the 7th, and the ball game is over. Here are your final totals. Winning their 27th game of the year, Redwood City 9 runs on 11 hits, 1 error. They strand a dozen runners. Mountain View going down in defeat. 5 runs on 11 hits, 5 errors. They strand 8. Speaking for Ed Montague, this is George Devine wishing you a very pleasant good evening from McKelvey Park here in Mountain View, where Redwood City notches their 2nd win of the week over Mountain View, doing it 9-5 fashion. We hope to see you again soon here on KMVT Sports.